Hey everybody, my name is Rod and I want to talk about how to practice speaking effectively. I am a polyglot who speaks 6 languages at high levels, and one of the most important things to get to these high levels is having intentional speaking practice, right? A lot of people think that to get better you can just converse with native speakers or converse with other high-level speakers and you get better, and that's true to a certain extent, but if you really want to get nuanced and express nuanced ideas, there might be a better way to do it, and here's what I'm going to show you today. So the process is based on doing monologues. The most important thing that you should take away from this is that if you do a monologue, if you practice by doing monologues, you'll get better quickly. Monologues are very different than conversations, right? And in a monologue, you talk about something continuously for a couple minutes, and it forces you to really speak about a topic in a very nuanced level, or you'll end up repeating yourself or having not very good language, essentially. And then either or, you're going to improve from it, because if you're speaking really well, that means that you're good in that topic area. If you are not speaking well, you'll find your weak areas, right? So the process is this: you pick a focus topic area, you prepare for the monologue, but you spend 1 or 2 minutes prepping for that monologue. You do the monologue, you perform a monologue, that's the basic activity there, and then you review what you've done. And what's important here is that you pick a focus topic area that is not too easy and that's not too hard, because you want to pick something kind of in a sweet spot so that you can actually monologue overall, but if it's too easy, you won't be learning anything because you know how to say everything. If it's too hard, it'll kill your confidence in that topic area at least, and you can't really say anything. It's just too hard, right? It's like you'll say like 2 words and get stuck, and that's not ideal either. Topic areas are based on areas of life. For example, daily routines, talking about friends and family, talking about your work, talking about your studies, talking about your hobbies, food, what else? Geography, stuff like that, like topics in school sometimes, right? So in Spanish Smash, in the application, you actually see those topic areas so that you can see which ones you're weak in and which ones you are strong in. You can choose them, right? And you want to think about what you can talk about and what you can't talk about. That helps you decide if it's too easy or too hard. If you can talk about that topic area very extensively with a rich vocabulary, with many different expressions, with a variety of expressions, that's too easy. If you can talk about a topic area, but you're like, I just feel like I'm saying the same things over and over again. I can talk about it, but I wish I can be more detailed and express myself in a more nuanced fashion. Perfect. If you really can't talk about like basic concepts in that topic area, like if you pick something like talking about your diet, and you can't even say like basic foods, or like basic foods, basic vegetables, cooking, basic vocab, then you really can't talk about it. That's probably too hard. Okay. In general, you want to aim for weaker areas, so you want to be in that middle range, because you'll get the most out of it. You'll do a monologue, but you realize when you go back, like, oh, actually I can say a lot more. Okay, and you analyze it and you find those weak areas. Okay, so you prepare for 1 or 2 minutes, you prep ideas. All right, the preparation phase is important because you want to have like a roadmap of what you want to say. So I will take a notebook out or whatever and type down in my native language like what I want to say, right? So if I'm talking about my diet, I want to say, I eat this type of food. I mostly eat chicken and eggs, and eat a lot of Cambodian food, for example, and whatever, right? And you spend 1 or 2 minutes to prep that so that you can start saying it. The point here is not to translate, like you're not writing in English, if English is your native language, in order to translate to Spanish. It's to get those ideas out, right? So that you don't just speak in Spanish and you stick to the words you know in Spanish. You're trying to say things that you can't say. Or it's not that you're trying to identify areas where you're weak, where you can't say stuff. But in order to do that, you need to be able to know what you want to say. All right. You prep 1 or 2 minutes. Don't prep too long. Don't go down a rabbit hole of hunting down how to say things. So if the food example again, if you can't say like all those, like you can't say chicken and beef and pork and vegetable, like basic stuff, that's not a good candidate for a speaking practice. That's a good candidate for like, going on YouTube and looking at people supermarket shopping in Spanish or describing recipes, but that's a different workflow for studying. You're learning language at that point. You're not practicing speaking. That's fine if that's your goal. But for these intents and purposes, you wanna prep in a way where you're just prepping ideas so you can start talking about it. All right. And lastly, don't memorize. You're not trying to make a list of things to memorize so you can just regurgitate them into our app or into any app. Actually, I think it's a waste of time. In our app, you're just gonna waste a session. In other apps, if it's a subscription, you won't be wasting sessions or whatever, but you'll be wasting time. You're just trying to jot down stuff so you can say stuff. And then you monologue for 2 or 3 minutes. I find that's a sweet spot because you get to say a lot. If it's longer than that, it's you have a lot to review, especially if you speak fast, right? If it's shorter than that, you're not saying enough. So 2 or 3 minutes. In those 2 or 3 minutes, though, be overly descriptive. You're not having a conversation, so it doesn't need to be like in conversations. Like people ask you, like, "Oh, what'd you eat for dinner?" And you're like, chicken and rice, fish, yeah, and that's it, right? And you end the conversation there. For these monologues, you want to be overly descriptive. Like if you're gonna talk about your diet, you can. Or I don't know why I chose this topic. I don't really care that much about it, but you can be like, normalmente me gusta comer pollo, y no solo pollo, pero también no me gusta, por ejemplo, la pechuga, porque no hay mucha grasa en la pechuga. Hay más grasa en las piernas perniles, por ejemplo, o los muslos, ¿sí? And I know that's a strange thing to say in conversation, actually, but that's not the point. The point is, can I describe everything as as verbosely as possible, even as much detail as possible? Be overly descriptive. Give too much information, right? I gave it too much information. We all don't care if I eat, muslos and not pechuga, right? What do you call that? Oh, my English is going to hell. Thighs instead of breasts because they don't have, fat, or they don't have flavor or whatever, right? But I'm practicing how to express all my thoughts in that topic area. So third bullet point is say what you are thinking. Flow of consciousness. Whatever you're thinking, just say it, because that's how you really see where you are and you can stretch your limits, right? And so give TMI. Say what you're thinking. And if you aren't sure how to say something, try to say it incorrectly. It doesn't matter. Or say it in your native language. Right? So if you're like, me gusta comer normalmente los, I don't know how to say, chicken thighs. How do I say chicken thighs? Or I don't like to eat, chicken titties, chicken breast, haha. I don't like, so, how do I say that? You can say your native language first. The point is not to translate it, but you mark it down so that after you can actually find out how to say it. That's the gap, right? So if you monologue for 3 minutes and you're overly descriptive, you will find gaps, right? My Spanish is at a higher level now, but even then, depending on the topic area I choose to talk about, I'll find gaps. And if it's not gaps, I might say it a certain way, but then when I listen back to it, I'm like, I'm not actually sure how to say this. So let me look it up. Let me see how to say it. So then you review, listen back to make sure it reflects your true ability. If you don't like it, you can record it again. This is especially true for Spanish Smash, which is the app. So if you click on analyze, that means that you use up a session. So just listen back to make sure it reflects your true ability. Sometimes you're not having a good day, right? You're speaking, you can't express yourself. You're mumbly, jumbly. I'm like that, like half the time I'm speaking actually. And you're like, okay, let me try it and do it again. That's fine. right? And after you're satisfied that it reflects your true ability, then you can click on analyze, and then you take notes on what you're analyzing. In Spanish Match, we analyze expressions and phrasing, number 1. Then we analyze grammar and structure, and then language complexity. Expression and phrasing are collocational tendencies. For example, if you say stuff like hacer decisiones, see, instead of tomar decisiones, those are the second one is correct. The first one isn't, because the first one is just a transliteration from English, essentially. That's a common mistake that some of my students make. Stuff like that. What else? Like tener hambre, tener sed, close stuff like that, right? Because it's not that's a basic one that you learn in like A2, A1 Spanish, obviously, but just because it's differently expressed, or what's the word? It's not like an English straight transliteration equivalent. Those are expressions and phrasing. And then number 2, grammar and structure. Grammar and structure, Spanish Smash looks at agreement and word order specifically. Everything else falls under expressions, because we believe that most things are expressions, that you can solve most things not by learning grammar rules, but by learning expressions. Like, you don't need to ask, like, why is it tener hambre? Why is it tengo hambre? It just is, right? You don't need to give a grammatical explanation about, well, in Spanish, people think that having hunger is whatever. Who gives a whatever word you want to put in there, right? That's not important. It's important to say I'm hungry in Spanish, you say tengo hambre. That's just how you say it. You don't want to overthink it, right? So grammar sometimes is like stuff like if you say things like, I don't know, las chicas son bonitos, right? That's grammar there, right? Because there's an agreement error, right? Even things like todas las días, that is grammatical, depending on how you look at it, but that will probably fall under expressions. And I think in Spanish Matched, it will probably analyze it under both, right? Because if you want to say every day, you want to express that idea, todos los días, yeah, it's more natural. But I'll point that out. And then lastly, we look at language complexity. Language complexity, is the most important one here, I think, especially for your B1, B1 plus, B2. If you're in B2, language complexity is important, because when I was stuck at B2, especially, I would just say the same stuff over and over again. Yeah, and because I say the same stuff over and over again, it's that's what made me B2, B1 plus, right? If I'm talking about my diet and I just say like me gusta el pollo, me gusta la carne, me gusta el cerdo también, me gusta el pescado, right? If I keep saying stuff like that, me gusta, that's not really complex, yeah? And that shows, that's evidence that my language isn't complex enough either, okay? So language complexity is important. And then lastly, for review, don't look for just mistakes. Don't just be like, oh, I made this mistake. Don't focus overly on mistakes, actually, like, because then even the philosophy mistakes, right? You don't want to discourage yourself. Like, yeah, of course you're gonna make mistakes. You're B1 plus B2. People at C1 make mistakes. Native speakers make mistakes, right? That's not the point. And like overall, sorry, I'm gonna put the microphone down because my hand hurts. You're not looking to make mistakes. And for an app like this, you're actually looking to let me take that back, actually. For an app like this, you are looking to make mistakes. You're looking to see which areas you can improve on. That's the point of this app, but you're using the mistakes as a learning tool. I had an old friend, polyglot friend, who used to say, you don't make mistakes, you make adjustments. That's the mentality you want to have. So you look for gaps. You look for what you can't say. And sometimes those go beyond mistakes. Because if you can't say it, you're not going to make the mistake, because you're probably avoiding saying it, to be honest. And you're looking for those things, yeah? Give you an example, daily routine. I love this example. It's one of the examples I'm going to use over and over again to teach you guys how to practice speaking, because describing your daily routine is something that you do often. It seems easy, like, oh, daily routine, if I can describe my daily routine, I'm going to be only an A2 plus. Yeah, right. Depends though, right? So you can talk about it in three different ways. You can talk about it very generally. Yeah. You can talk about it normally. You can talk about it in detail and give TMI, give too much information. And for a practice app like this, and for a practice exercise like I'm advocating for, you want to go for the third one. So an example of talking about it very generally, you're on, I don't know, you go to a coffee shop or something, and you talk to the mesero, or the owner of the coffee, what do you call it? The waiter, yeah. And they ask you like, oh, how was your day today? What'd you do? And you just say, trabajé, y ya. That's generally, right? That's not good conversation practice. So for you people who think, I'm just going to go out and be immersed and try to talk, yeah, that gets you to a certain degree, obviously, but your mesero or your el dueño de la tienda de la en la esquina, por ejemplo, they won't care. They'll be like, they just ask you like, how was your day? Did you see the game last night? And you're gonna go, sí, and yeah. You can talk about it normally, like if you have a close friend. That's the second bullet point there, right? They might ask you like, oh yeah, what do you usually do to prepare? Like when you wake up, what's your daily routine? Like you're one of those like what do you call it? Those self-development bros, those digital marketer bros, right? And like, oh, me levanto a las 6 de la mañana y después desayuno y normalmente como 4 huevos, 5 huevos, 6 huevos, 8 huevos porque necesito más proteína para mis músculos y después voy al gimnasio y whatever, right? You can talk about it like that. Okay, fine. That's normal. That's okay. But the next level of that is you can talk about it and you go into detail and give too much information. So instead of just saying me levanto a las 6 de la mañana y después lo que haces durante el día, ¿sí? Puedes decir, you can say stuff like me levanto a las 6 de la mañana, después tiendo la cama, después me lavo la boca, me baño, ¿qué más? Cuando me baño normalmente me lavo la cara. And so what you're looking for here is you're looking to talk about every single thing to see what you can't say. So for example, if you're like me levanto a las 6 de la mañana y después tiendo la cama, but maybe you're like, oh, me levanto a las 6 de la mañana y actually I don't know how to say make the bed. I know I make the bed, but I don't know how to say it. So then you can say something like, preparo la cama, and then when you listen back to it, you'll be like, oh, actually, how do you say make the bed? I'm not sure, right? Or you go, me lavo la boca, me cepillo los dientes, por ejemplo, right? And when you say that, you're like, okay, was brushing my teeth, did I say that right? And then you also notice that once you give too many details, you'll hit gap areas, and that's important. Okay, so aim for TMI, seriously. If I were practicing by myself, I would say stuff that probably shouldn't be said on YouTube. So there you go. And you want to say that because you want to be as specific as possible, because it gives you gaps, and then you can start thinking about that. That's how you get nuance. That's how you develop true fluency, guys. All right. So other tips. Each session is a lesson, not a recording, right? So when you're in Spanish Smash, you might think, oh, I'm just buying recordings. No, each session is a lesson. You prepare, you record, then you learn from the recording. Okay. Tip number 2: take notes on your gaps. Or second bullet point there: take notes on your gaps. So when you listen back to your recording, you're like, oh, I don't know how to say. What do you call it? Make the bed, right? I don't know how to say make the bed in Spanish. I don't know how to say take a shower in Spanish, right? Or you might find that that you'll be surprised by the things you can't say when even at B2 level. Like you might be able to talk about like all the things you're interested in, even academic stuff. That was the case for me. But then when I was talking about my daily routine, I'm like, oh wait, I don't know. I'm not sure how to say take a shower, like specifically. And I had to look it up again just to make sure, right? I wasn't sure, and that's a gap. When you're not sure how to say things, even if you read it and you understand it, if you can't say it on the spot when you need to, that's a gap, yeah? Don't be afraid of using your native language. Third bullet point. helps you look for ideas and how to say them. You're looking for expressions because you're using your native language not to translate. You're looking on how to say ideas and concepts. That's why you're using it, right? So you're not looking for like words, not looking for take and then a and a bath, or make and then my bed, make the bed, for example. You're looking for, how do I say the idea of making a bed? How do I say the idea of taking a bath or taking a shower? How do I say the idea of brushing my teeth? How do I say the idea of cooking eggs or eating breakfast, etc., right? And after, it's super important, go learn your shit, right? After you get all the gaps, then you can start another study flow. Look up those gaps if you want. That's the first step I probably do. I just go type everything into ChatGPT, like, hey, how do you say this stuff for this context in this particular culture? Give me some nuances. Learn that. If you're a fan of using Anki, you could put it there. I don't think you need to be honest. You could just practice again, and you don't need to practice on Spanish Smash. Just like in a day, practice the same thing, recording again, and in 2 days, come back to Spanish Smash and try to do the same topic over again, and then see what your results are, right? So that you can improve. Yeah, go learn your stuff. Another way to do it is if you're talking about daily routines, go look up how people describe their daily routines in YouTube. Like type in rutina diaria, rutina matutina, por ejemplo, morning routine, rutina de trabajo, whatever you wanna learn. Okay. All right, that's it for me. So hope that helps and happy learning. Hasta la próxima. Ciao.